Howdy y'all, my name is Mr. Nefarious. You may have seen me around on the Fatal Fury Discord, cruising around Reddit, maybe trolling on YouTube, but I'm kind of everywhere where there's Fatal Fury. I'm a pretty average player, but I'd like to consider myself pretty ingrained in the community, and with the recent influx of new players, both due to some of the really awesome performance of the Season 2 post-launch content, as well as obviously Kenshiro and certain other games maybe having a little bit of an exodus of some fans that are maybe not happy with their current state. What we've seen is a pretty good influx of new players into City of the Wolves. That has... I dropped my controller. Professionalism. What that has led to is a lot of players asking, how do I get started? It has also led to a lot of crosstalk and not understanding our notation, and so I wanted to put together a little guide that kind of gets you what you need to know and hopefully help you get started kind of quickly, but give you everything you need to know to just contribute as part of the community and understand how the game works. Reminder, I am not a professional player. I would not describe myself as being excellent at the game, but I know what I'm doing. So my goal here is to help you know what you're doing so that you can someday be a pro player and outclass the hell out of me. So starting off, Fatal Fury uses numpad notation. Got my little virtual pad up here so you can see my buttons. Numpad notation just means that if you look down at your computer's numpad, not a calculator on your phone, those are inverted, you'll see 1 in the down back position, 2 in the down position, 3 in down right, 4 for back, 5 for neutral, 6 for forward, and then 7, 8, and 9 for your jumps. One of the reasons why this is very valuable is it just makes things kind of easier to type, especially if you're on a computer. You will hear me say quarter circles or DP motions, so I'll throw a little image on the screen here just showing off what those read like. 236 is a quarter circle forward, 214 quarter circle back, 623, and those are the most common inputs in this game. Almost every super in the game is no more complicated than a double quarter circle forward, though we have a few weird things here and there. I won't dive into too many character specifics in this video, but I'm happy to put together a little choose your main style video in the future. The other thing is that for our attack buttons, you will find that most of the community doesn't use light punch, heavy punch. That's just not the notation we use. So throwing on the screen again if I can, a Neo Geo layout. All classic Fatal Fury games, as well as other SNK fighters, were on Neo Geo hardware. Neo Geo had a pretty uniform input layout of A, B, C, D. So we didn't have bespoke cabinets for games that would say things like heavy slash, light kick. We didn't have that. So in this game, both of your lights are A and B. So A, light punch, B, light kick, and then C, heavy punch, D, heavy kick. We have one more button than they had on the old cabinets, which we just call R or Rev. And we will get into the intricacies of the Rev button later, but it is valuable to use, though there are other ways around it. Movement in Fatal Fury is not that different from other fighters. You have back walks, you have crouches, you have jumps. Much like other 2D fighters, you can hold back to block, and the blocking will only trigger within however many pixels of the opponent. We also have short hops. Short hops are a great way to apply pressure to an opponent. I know you can't quite see the difference, it's not super obvious, but I am jumping lower, which lets me put out pressure a lot faster. You can full jump over every opponent in the game, but you can't short hop over them. So it's pretty funny to look at. one of our... Oh, and just throwing out there, we have dashes. Some characters have run. With a character like Rock, you have an extremely aggressive run. You can cover screen space very quickly and push opponents to the corner, so that's a useful tool in and of itself. We also have a mechanic called Just Defend. If you block within 7 frames of an attack, not only will you negate chip damage entirely, but you will recover a little bit of health, and our guard cancel mechanics are gated behind the Just Defend. So normal block, you can see I took a little bit of chip, have him do it again, Just Defend. But Just Defend can also be done in the air. So when you have an opponent that's playing some really nasty zoning games, just know that as long as you haven't taken an air action, so I can't, we'll try this again here, nothing I can do, right? I've already taken my air action. Just Defend requires an empty jump. But that also means that as you're approaching an opponent that does a lot of keep away, right? Here's an example. This character can fire 2 fireballs at once. Getting in on this could be really hard without a mechanic like this, right? You're going to eat that. But now I can keep myself safe. Part of the usefulness of the Rev Guard is that Rev Guard also negates chip damage at the cost of your Rev meter. So down at the bottom there, you can see my Rev meter just went up by 4%, which means it's double what I do if I just normally block. So it's very careful meter management. You should know what you should do and why. But since Rev is just done with Rev and neutral, that also means that it will protect from cross-ups. Right? That's a cross-up. And I don't have to do anything there, right? If I'm concerned that my opponent's going to cross me up, I can just sit there and turtle with Rev Guard. So if you're willing to spend that meter to keep yourself safe, which sometimes you should be, do it. It also has a little bit of pushback. Some attacks more than others, but no, it can also get you a lot of distance in a pinch. Rev is also useful because it's something of a context-sensitive tool. So if I hold back and push Rev, I get a backdash, which is cool. Forward and Rev, I get my forward dash. And Rev is also useful because it enables hopping. If you try and jump while holding Rev, you will always do a hop. So you notice I'm not going over him because I can't do it while hopping. So we have some really good tools here to make life a little bit easier for you. And a lot of them are gated behind that Rev button. So we had previously discussed that our attack buttons were A, B, C, D, lights then heavies sequentially. It is very important to know that Fatal Fury, while being a 4-button game, is not limited to 4 normal attacks. So obviously you have, crouching versions, you have jumping versions, and getting familiar with those, their hitboxes and use cases is very important for any character. But just as much as that, getting used to the close versions. So in this case, right, this is my far D with Mr. Big, but my close D has a completely different use case. Knowing what these are is very important. With some characters, their close D might be a decent anti-air, which makes it really good in an Oki situation where the opponent might try and jump out. You can catch them in their jump. Meanwhile, somebody like Mr. Big, it has a little bit of plus frames there. You can see I'm +7, which lets me combo after. It's not a true combo. But there, I got a full combo off of it, right? It's active for days. These are pretty important to know. Be very familiar with them. With a lot of characters, pretty much everything's going to have its own niche. Most things aren't ever useless, so spending some time in the lab to figure out what's going on is going to be your best friend. Secondarily, like most fighting games, characters have a slew of special moves. So here's my quarter circle punch. I have a little cross chop action there on quarter circle forward kick. Mr. Big also has high and low counters, which you can trigger the trigger the resultant attack, even if an opponent doesn't hit me. Very, very valuable, as well as that guy. Very commonly, you have Dragon Punch motions, so there you get good old classic DP. And like a lot of modern fighting games, we also have EX specials. So in the case of Mr. Big, that EX special also really changes the way the move itself works. So in this case, we've got, a close range fireball. It's a pretty good tool. It's got a really big hitbox, but it's a little bit slow. Obviously, if somebody's beating me in a zoning war, it's not very valuable. But the enhanced version, the Rev version, as we may call it, will cut through normal fireballs and give me an opportunity to advance. The other thing that we have that's very useful is Rev Excel. What Rev Excel is a special to special cancel system. So in the case that I'm playing at this mid-range, my opponent is throwing out fireballs, I can cancel one special move into another. So something like that is basically the backbone of our combo system. We won't get too much into that, but I will show you some example combos at the end. Additionally, we have two separate meters, which we will talk about in just a moment. But the one on the bottom with the stars is your super meter. Almost every super move in the game is done with a double quarter circle motion and punch, or a double quarter circle and kick. There are a few, they are rare exceptions, so they're not worth digging into really heavily for an introductory video. But if you push the light version of your attack, A or B, that's what you get. Mr. Big also has a command grab. And if you want to spend 2 meters, you can push your heavy attack buttons. In the case of Mr. Big's command grab, that also makes it 1 frame to start up. Knowing your supers is very valuable. I am comfortable saying that for the most part, level 1 supers are what you're going to want to spend meter on, particularly since some of them, if you'll notice here, it says invincible on the left. Invincible. So everybody has usually at least one invincible super that will get you through a lot of really dangerous situations. So if you spend 2 bars of meter on it, you're really locking yourself out of that additional invincible super. I suppose I should have covered this as well, but throws are like most modern games, and they are A plus B. You do have forward throws, as well as back throws. The other thing that we have is something called hidden gear. Hidden gear is done with, and this is the same for every character, double quarter circle forward, rev. They are all invincible. They will all beat out pretty much anything your opponent can throw at you, but they take 2 bars always. But they have an additional benefit, and I'm going to throw out a little combo here so you can see. If you notice in the bottom left, it says revving up. I have a 62%. That is our rev gauge, and it has completely reset. So if you're overextending a combo, taking it further than it should go, you're overextending your meter, you're going to want to go ahead and throw that in. So that's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. So let's go talk about meters. The super meter is exactly as you would expect it to be. It fills up when dealing or taking damage. There's nothing terribly juicy about it, nothing to really expand on. It does what you expect it to do. But rev meter, as we've touched on before, will raise when you block things with rev guard. It will go down just naturally over time. Some characters can manipulate that. So if we change our character here to the notorious Mr. Karate, Mr. Karate can charge his ki and forcibly remove his rev meter. This is not usually that helpful because this is a very aggressive game, but it's a callback to Art of Fighting, which he is from. Additionally, most characters don't have this, but Mr. Karate alone has a taunt on ABC, and you can see as I taunt my opponent, I raise his rev meter. This is pretty disgusting, and I can put him into overheat state. What overheat state is it disables some of the core mechanics. So in this state, you cannot do meterless invincible attacks, so your light DPs, which are fully invincible, will not be invincible to grounded moves. Additionally, I didn't set him to block, but you can see the guard meter underneath his health becomes red. If he's blocking, I can chip away at that meter and eventually guard break him for a full combo. So you really don't want to be in overheat, because even worse than that, it also locks you out of just defend. So this is not a state you really want to be in. Back off, keep your combos shorter, stay on the attack, deal some damage, or hit the opponent with your hidden gear, but do yourself a favor, do not get into that state. The hidden gear super will return you to 0% rev meter. Let's see, and we're going to change that to normal. So I'm in overheat, you can see I'm exhausted. And if I hit him with my hidden gear,
looks like I'm still going.
I am now at 0. So it can be very helpful to hoard your meter if you know you are prone to overextending yourself. So I would recommend keep your eyes on your meter and combo into the hidden gear if you can to keep yourself safer. One thing you may have noticed is that my characters have this interesting golden glow about them. If you take a look up at the top, you can see that I have this little golden bar called SBG. What SBG is a position that you can determine for an enhanced state. You get more damage. So this is when your character is at their most deadly. If you place it in the final state, towards the end of the life bar, you won't have that until the end. However, this has additional benefits, right? So right now at this point of recording, if you place your SPG at final, once you're in that SPG state, once you start popping that golden color, what you get is a rather significant defense increase. You will also get refunds on some of your rev expenditure. So if you're doing enhanced attacks and you're building up that bar, it will build up slower. This is changing with Season 3, so that behavior with the refunds will be going to Excel, the primary position. You'll get a more balanced play in Flux, and you'll get the strong defensive play in Final. Obviously I haven't played that yet, but I think that will probably do well for the game. Right now the meta is really about Final SPG, and truthfully it's getting a little stale, so I'll be happy for this shakeup. The The other most dangerous thing about being an SPG is that you have access to Rev Blow. Rev Blow is a completely armored move. It will eat any and all attacks. So if I was to get in on my rock dummy here, have it jump, and start mashing jab, and you can see I also get a nice counter hit off of it, which opens up to... Oh. There's very interesting timing on how and when that pops. So you can see I have the capability to get a combo there. It doesn't raise your rev too much, 17%. Okay, could be worse. If I were to set the dummy to block, you can also see that it leaves me only -2, which means it's going to be very, very difficult to punish. And what takes it just a step further is that you can do it from the air, and it's only -3. So this is a very scary move for anybody to have in their arsenal. What that means is that when somebody's in SPG, it's up to you to know that they very much are going to be happy to throw that out there. The potential reward is huge, the risk is relatively low, though they do risk burning themselves out. So you can just block it and let them do that. You can see that's a decent amount of chip, but it's not the end of the world, and you still have Rev Guard available to negate that chip. You cannot just defend SPG. Or sorry, Rev Blow. That said, it's not invincible, right? It can be defeated, so let's talk about it. So you might rightfully be concerned that SPG and Rev Blow is a little too dangerous. Rock has one of the most dangerous ones in the game. When a Rock player is in SPG, you can count on seeing that move a lot. It's on you to know what to do about it. Rob's is a little extra cracked because it puts you in an airborne state, which takes away your ability to throw it. And so you need to know the other tools that you have available at your disposal. You cannot just defend it, which means you cannot guard cancel against it. You can just sit there and take it, you know, I turned the dummy off of block. But you can just let him burn himself out, right? Again, I'm gaining 17% per pop, so you could just wait it out if you're willing to weather the storm. But if you're also an SPG, you can hit him with a combo or a super. You get a nice wall bounce if you punish their Rev Blow with your Rev Blow. It's a very useful tool everybody should be aware of. Additionally, we have dodge attacks. I didn't cover this earlier because I feel like it's more useful here, but a dodge attack is done with CR, right? Which is heavy punch and rev. That is our version of a universal overhead. And if you were to crush a low with this, it opens you up for, or opens your opponent up rather, for a full combo. And on 2 CR, push those, you actually get one with anti-air and like anti-mid properties. So this is the natural foil. So anyway, that is one of the most useful tools. These things are going to annoy you. They are an annoyance tool. But if you let those shut you down entirely, then they've won, right? So keep this in your back pocket. It's always valuable. And you can always just beat them with a super because, again, it does not have super armor. It is scary. It is obnoxious. It is not unbeatable. Do not let it defeat you. Fatal Fury has a few kind of tricky mechanics that you won't find in other games, but they will be familiar to you if you've played older Fatal Fury titles. I would recommend putting the aforementioned dodge attacks onto a shortcut. You never want to mess that up. But what I would also recommend being put on a shortcut is DR. DR is your feint button. This does the first few frames of an attack without putting out any sort of attack hitbox. So in this case, I am feinting my uppercut. If I push forward and feint, I can feint out my fireball, which can bait some jumps. Or I can do this one that is pretty useless but looks really cool. All of these will change some frame data because you can cancel cancelable normals into a feint. So right there, close heavy kick is +1. But if I do my neutral feint, it's +2. If I do my forward feint, it's +6. So I'm sure your mind runs crazy with... Oh, and of course I mess it up. And these are where links come in. And of course, there we go. Thank you. So you can start getting some stuff together pretty quickly, which also lets you be pretty safe, right? If your opponent winds up blocking and you want to make sure that you stay safe, it's nice to be +4, right? Versus +2. And then get out of dodge, or just throw out an invincible move immediately after. Use these feint cancels to your advantage. They can lengthen your combos, but their most important use, in my opinion, is to keep you safe. And as mentioned before, they can get some people to jump in at you. So I think that's a pretty important time to talk about why you might want to bait somebody. And it's because in this game, when you jump in, I guess I should actually set him to jump kick. Right? That can do, that can open you up for a lot of combos. So you do have invincible moves. Those are great, but you could see the damage on that was not amazing, right? That's relatively small damage. Only the light version is fully invincible, but the heavy version is anti-air invincible only. But what you can do is use that rev button, right? Since it's context sensitive, you can use it to actually cancel your attack, but it still has the hit at the beginning. So this is meaningfully different from the feint. So you can start working in your feints in together with breaks to really give yourself an awful lot of opportunity here. Part of the reason why this is important is that you can get a full combo, even though I missed the end, you can get a full combo just off of an anti-air. So you won't get a whole lot of mileage out of just that itself, but mixing in both feints and breaks to keep yourself safe is also how you'll set up more opportunities to get combos going. One important thing you want to know is the Wild Punish state. Wild Punish is the Fatal Fury terminology for a whiff punish. Slower attacks with a lot of recovery on them are really prone to Wild Punish. So keep in mind when throwing out really big slow attacks that if you're not going to connect, you're at risk. Alright, let's see this here. Right, so I hit him too late, he counter hit me, and that's a Wild Punish. Wild Punish gives you a huge amount of advantage, which is more than enough time in most cases to dash forward and instigate a full combo. So it's pretty good And just beware. Because you get a damage bonus on wild punishes, throwing stuff out like crazy is really just asking yourself to get into trouble. Like, counter hit already gives you some advantage, +5, but you know, +18 is significantly scarier because it really means you can do whatever you want. So anyway, keep that in mind. It's very, very important. So putting together a few of the things that we've done before, which is you know, proximity normals. We're going to cancel those into a feint. We're going to cancel those into some EX specials, which cancel into more EX specials. We're going to pump up our own meter, and we're going to end with a hidden gear to bring that rev meter back down. Right? So that's pretty good, but it left me at 60, right? 60% would not be very safe. And there I am, and I've got to bring myself all the way back down. So you can see that when somebody's sitting on 2 sticks of butter, that it's pretty easy to get like a 60% damage combo that is not terribly unique to Big. Some characters like Kenshiro can do that off almost any touch. So yeah, just know that right there, I get all the way +9 if I do that feint cancel, and now I can go with a cancelable far heavy attack. And even if I'm not using too much meter, and I do that guy, that's still pretty big, and I can get that back not too bad. If you put yourself at like 70% though, you're definitely putting yourself at some risk. So be warned. So that's kind of putting things together. A few things before you get started though. Just know that getting competitive in Fatal Fury, please acknowledge and give yourself some grace. You're getting into a niche game. This is a niche game with a niche audience, and they've been playing games from this company largely for a long time. You also never know what somebody's actual skill level is. Rank means nothing. I could sign on right now on a character I've never played before and be a bronze, but have a strong enough understanding of the system mechanics to completely wash you. And if you let yourself get demotivated, you will be your own worst enemy. So I beg you, don't get tilted. Don't get mad. Get inquisitive. Come back here, go to somebody that's a better teacher than me, and find out what went wrong, right? Because as good as some characters are, these universal system mechanics will take you far without having to really delve super deep. If you can condition your opponent, or you see them being repetitive, you can use almost any of these skills to start turning the tides and start winning. I would also like to say, take some time to take pride in small victories. You don't have to win the match, and you don't have to win the set, but if you've grown, you're one step towards mastering the game, and pick out which way you want to grow. Is that, I want to not get hit by any rev blows, right? Then don't get hit by any rev blows. Figure it out. Are you going to grab your opponent out of them, right? Because as scary as they are, right? Krauser's a big boy. I've got things I can do, right? Take that, Krauser. So there's pretty much always something you can do. You are never truly at a loss. You're just at a loss of ideas. And the only person that can fix that is you. But we're here to help. Join us on the official Discord. Join the community. Say hi. Let's get some games. I'm Mr. Nefarious, and it was great chatting with you.